All right. I'm just gonna speak for for like 45 seconds about how the bot works, and if that's okay, it's not gonna count towards my time. Is that okay? Okay. So the way that the bot works is basically it times us. So 3 minutes, 3 minutes. We agreed that I would go first, so it's gonna let me speak for up to a maximum of 3 minutes. It's gonna server mute everyone else in the VC, including you. And then when it's your time to speak, it's gonna ping you. It's gonna say, "Hey, it's your turn to speak" in the debate text channel. And then it'll server mute me, and then it'll unmute you, and you can speak. If I or whoever's speaking, if they need to release their time, like they just finished in less than 3 minutes, all you have to do is mute yourself, like regular mute, not server mute, just regular mute yourself, and it should transfer the time to the other person. So yeah, so it's gonna start my time now. All right. So, Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsan ila yawmiddin. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Yeah, so I think this discussion has been a long time in the making. We'd been, this had actually been the central point of the last debate that we had, and this was the central issue on which we, the basis on which people would said that I went off topic, right? Is there an entailment or not? And so I'm going to be posting. Please, like, nobody else post in debate text. Only me and Silverado. But basically, it comes down to this, right? There's a dilemma essentially that Silverado has. Either he accepts that there's an entailment relationship between the Imam of Ali radiallahu anhu and the Imam of the 11 after him. In which case, I can use the modus tollens argument that I used, the infamous modus tollens argument, to refute the Imam of Ali using the later Imams. And he also doesn't get to say that I went off topic in my last debate with him. And then, if he doesn't say that, then if he doesn't say that there's an entailment relationship, then he has to prove the Imam of every Imam. Please, nobody text inside of the debate text channel except for me and Silverado. If you want to have commentary, go in lounge chat. If he doesn't, then he has to prove the Imam of all 11 Imams individually. So that's kind of the dilemma that he has. I have one question for him. When we say, does the Imama of Ali radiallahu anhu necessarily entail the Imama of the 11 Imams after him? Does he say that there's a deductive entailment, or does he say that there's an abductive entailment? That is one question that I would like you to answer. Is there a deductive entailment or an abductive entailment? It's either or. Or you could say there's an inductive entailment, but I want an answer. What type of entailment is it? Abductive, inductive, or deductive? So one of the three. Please let me know. I think in this case it's either deductive or abductive. Yeah, so that's what I had to say on that issue. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's it. So yeah, so there's the Silverado's dilemma, and then the question of, is it an abductive or deductive entailment?
Okay, so firstly, there's no dilemma because we can easily prove the Imamate of each of the 12 Imams. And like that's not an issue whatsoever. So I mean, we do that. We have nas for all of the Imams. We have arguments to prove all of the Imams. When I'm saying that the Imamate of Imam Ali alayhi salam entails the Imamate of the other Imams, what I mean is that the same methodology that you use to establish the Imamate of Imam Ali alayhi salam, if you applied that methodology consistently, that would also establish the Imamate of the rest of the 11 Imams. So it's the same thing with the prophets, and I made this example with you earlier on text, that the prophecy of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is entailed by the prophecy of his predecessors, right? Like Prophet Musa alayhi salam, Prophet Isa alayhi salam. So how do we know this? Because they foretold, right? They literally, like the Quran makes reference to this, that they foretold the coming of a prophet after them, and the only prophet that meets those criteria of the prophecy and fulfills the prophecies that they foretold is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the same methodology by which we can determine whether past prophets were true or not, which is stuff like their character, miracles they perform, true prophecies, all of that, by those same, by that same exact methodology, if we applied it to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it would establish his prophethood. So the same thing with the Imams. If we establish the same methodology, if we reach the conclusion that Imam Ali alayhi salam is a divinely appointed infallible Imam, the same methodology that we would use to establish that is the same methodology that we would use to establish the Imamate of the later Imams. And regarding your question as to whether it's abductive or deductive, it's abductive. All right.
Okay, so there's a bit of a mistake on my part. The bot has crashed. There's some bug in it that I don't have time to debug right now. So to come up with, like, to solve that, it's my fault. So I'm gonna accept the burden. I'm gonna time myself. I have a physical timer here, for 3 minutes. So I'm not gonna talk over that. And Silverado, you can talk for as long as you want. I'll just take the penalty for that because, yeah, it's my fault. So I'm not gonna time you. I'll just time myself and make sure that I don't talk for more than 3 minutes. Yeah, so to address the point, so when he talks about, when we're talking about the entailment relationship, so he brings up the point of, the ayah about the Prophet ﷺ being foretold in the previous scriptures. I would not say that there's an entailment relationship there. What we have is a conjunction between two propositions, which would then entail that he's a prophet, right? So one is that the previous scriptures are true, and then the second part of that conjunction is that the previous prophets are true, right? So you would say that does the Nubuwwah of Isa alayhi salam entail the prophethood of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? No. It's the conjunction of the prophethood of Isa alayhi salam conjuncted with the prophecy itself, and you have to, of course, accept the prophecy. We as Muslims do accept the prophecy on the basis of the Quran, but there's not a direct entailment relationship. So just on that basis, we would say that there is not an entailment. So number two, if you see here, there's two scenarios, one or two. Two implies that there's an entailment. Two is that there is an entailment relationship. One is not that there's an entailment relationship between the proposition itself and the conclusion. There's an entailment relationship with the proposition conjuncted with something else, meaning the prophecy. You also have to accept the prophecy. So Imam Ali, in and of himself, being a divinely appointed infallible Imam, like, just, I mean, sure, maybe it's a semantical argument, but like that is the topic of the discussion. Does the Imam of Ali radiallahu anhu necessarily entail the Imam of the 11 after him? And no, it doesn't. You have to also affirm other pieces of nas. Same is the case with the previous prophets, by the way. And with regards to the Quranic ayah that he referenced, that ayah is not referring to the scripture that we have available today. It's referring to the scripture that they had. And we don't know what hidden nas they had or what hidden nas they didn't have. We don't know if it's referring to the verses in Deuteronomy or whatever. We don't know what it's referring to. Allahu A'lam. Maybe that piece of text has actually been lost since the time of the Prophet ﷺ. And even if it isn't, again, what I said about the logical conjunction still applies. And then, yeah, I have some more things to say that I'll say in my next time because I'm running out of time. I think I have like a few seconds left.
Okay, so firstly, the point that the prophecies that were made in the previous scriptures, we don't know if we have that today because there was tahrif of the previous scriptures. That just shows like lack of knowledge about the verse in question, because the verse actually says, so those who follow the messenger, the unlettered prophet, whom they find written in what they have of the Torah and the Gospel. So this is verse 157 of Surah 7, Surah Al-A'raf, verse 157. It says, مَكْتُوبًا عِنْدَهُمْ فِي التَّوْرَاةِ وَالْإِنْجِيلِ. So it's explicitly saying what they have with them. It contains prophecies of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And like logically that would make sense that would have to be the case, because the Quran is using this as a proof over them. It's saying that Rasulullah is a true prophet because he's foretold in your own scriptures. So how can the Quran be appealing to a prophecy that they don't even have access to? So that's illogical, and it's like directly contradicts what's in the verse. And then as for accepting like you're distinguishing between accepting a prophet and accepting their prophecies. I don't know where you're getting that distinction, because if you accept a prophet, necessarily you have to accept their prophecies. Because if you say that somebody is a prophet, but you say that they're giving false prophecies, then they're not a prophet. So if you accept that Nabi Isa alayhi salam was a prophet, if you accept that Nabi Musa alayhi salam was a prophet, then you have to accept their prophecies. And if you accept their prophecies, then you end up accepting the prophecy of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So again, when I'm saying that the entailment regarding the Imams, what I'm saying is that if you establish that Imam Ali alayhi salam is the first divinely appointed infallible Imam, the same methodology that led you to make that conclusion would also give you the other 11 Imams. So I'm not saying that, like, for example, somebody would only have to prove the Imamate of Imam Ali alayhi salam, and that like automatically proves the other 11. What I'm saying is if you were consistent and you applied that same methodology, you would end up getting all of the 12, because there's no other like potential answers to that.
Okay, so with regards to the ayah, I think you misunderstood what I said. I said that we don't know what it was referring to, meaning we can't guarantee that there's been a preservation of those texts from the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the whom that the ayah is referring to, meaning those people, and us today. So we don't, like, I'm not a biblical scholar, but Silverado would have to prove that the Bible has been preserved since the time of the Prophet ﷺ till now. There may have been additional tahrif since then. I don't know. Maybe there are manuscripts that showed like the entirety of the New Testament and the Old Testament, and nothing has been lost since then. But I don't take that for granted. Perhaps one could make an argument that there's like, manuscripts of the entire King James version or whatever. But I'm not a scholar in biblical preservation, so I don't know. Silverado has to prove that the Bible has been preserved since the time of the Prophet ﷺ till now, and that it was specifically referring to Deuteronomy, whatever. But even if he makes that point, it still doesn't follow. With regards to the point about the methodology, in fact, if you're not Silverado, please could you mute Toasty? Okay, muted you. Let's see. I actually have. Here we go. So regarding the methodology of al-Imamiyya, imama must be established by nas. There's no like process of elimination here. There's no other method with which to determine who the imam is. The mu'tamad of imamiyya is that imama is established exclusively by clear nas, an explicit nas. And this is a statement from Al-Mufid. We have the same by At-Tusi, I believe. We have a similar statement from At-Tusi, and this is just the way it is, right? So, and if you say that the same methodology has to be that we use to establish the Imam of Ali, we use to establish the Imam of the later ones, then do that. Go ahead and bring some nas to prove the later Imams on me, because I don't accept the nas that you have for your Imams, right? That's not a hujjah on me. It's all in your books, and those books are not hujjah on me. With Imam Ali, you prove it using the mutawatir narration of Hadith al-Ghadir. If you do, I don't know if you do, because many of your scholars said that it's actually not qat'i. But if you use Ghadir, actually no, we had a debate on this, so I know you do use Ghadir. Then bring me a similar narration that's hujjah on me from your books, if you can. That's it.
Okay, so firstly, to establish the imam of the later imams, you don't need to use Sunni hadith, because by establishing the imamat of Imam Ali alayhi salam, you already disprove the fundamental conclusions on which the Sunni hadith compilers were basing their hadith. And there's a lot of evidence for this. It's a lengthy discussion that but basically Sunni, and we have a video on the Imamiyya channel about this as well, about how Sunni hadith compilers like systematically weaken Shia narrators, and even like major muhaddithin like Ahmad ibn Hanbal would specifically censor hadith which contained like problematic material about the Sahaba and all of this. So like there's no obligation on us to provide you a similar hadith to Hadith al-Ghadir for every single one of the 12 Imams in order to prove the Imams. Once we prove Imam Ali alayhi salam, then you accept that the Sunni hadith corpus is flawed like foundationally. So then it's no longer hujjah in the first place. So, and regarding what you claimed about the Bible being distorted between Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and between us, so there's no evidence for that whatsoever. We have manuscripts that predate the Prophet, which are like identical to the manuscripts that we have today. And I don't have to prove anything regarding that, because I'm not like establishing to a non-Muslim right now that the prophecy of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is in the Old Testament. What I'm trying to say is that, like, even let's say the Muslims or the Ahlul Kitab at the time of the Prophet, right? For them, undoubtedly, like the Quran is appealing to them, saying, look in your own books for a proof of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So my argument is that the same way that their prophecies entail Rasulullah, the acceptance of the Imamate of the previous Imams entails the Imamate of the later Imams. But if somebody wants to see proof that Deuteronomy 18 is about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I actually have an article on ahlsunnah.net which is specifically on that subject, and I'll link it in debate text. And regarding your claim about Nas being the only way to find out whether someone is the Imam, that's not true. So Nas is one of the key ways, like an Imam has to have Nas, obviously. But let's say somebody didn't hear the Nas. Let's say somebody, like, came in from a different city and he meets the Imam. Like, is the only way for him to know who the Imam is that he has to have heard from the previous Imam who his successor is? No, nobody says this. And I mean, there were ashab even who were close to the Imam, for example, in the time of Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salam, who the Nas had not reached them, and they were confused as to who the Imam was after Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. So they used other methods, right? They went to Abdullah al-Aftah and they asked him religious questions. And when they found that he couldn't answer those sufficiently, they determined that he was not the Imam. Then they went to Imam Kadhim alayhi salam and they asked him the same questions, and he was able to answer them. So that established his Imam over them. And then you have, even for example, in Al-Kafi, you have in the chapter that's proving the Imamate of the 12th Imam, you don't just have hadith of Nas, you have hadith of miracles, like, for example, the Imam having knowledge that was impossible for the Imam to have. Like, for example, he'll write a letter predicting that something will happen, and then that thing will happen. And this hadith is included in Al-Kafi in order to prove the Imamate of the 12th Imam. So this idea that Nas is the only way to prove Imamah is neither the methodology of the companions of the Imams, nor is it the methodology of our early hadith scholars, because I just proved to you, like Khulaini included hadith in Al-Kafi to prove Imamah that were other than Nas, that were miracles. So there's a lot of ways. There's Afdaliyah, there's Nas, there's complete knowledge, there's performance of miracles, there's a bunch of different ways in which someone's Imamah can be proved.
Okay, so I mean, you can say that, sure, but you have to go against basically the statements of all of your scholars, right? So I have Al-Mufid, I have Al-Tusi, I believe Murtada also. Let me just find it. I think I have. Oh, here we go. I have, who is this from? This is from Asif Muhsini. Who is also giving us some. Actually, he's making concession here that the if you do it using the Nas methodology, it's actually not mutawatir. So I don't know how he establishes the Imam of all of his Imams. But this is the Mu'tamad of Imamiyya. This is your madhab. You, like, if you wanna claim that, then you should. I think it'd be fair for me to demand for you to bring a scholar who says this. The fact that Khulaini includes tertiary proofs or secondary proofs for the Imamah of his Imams doesn't mean that you don't need Nas as the foundation. And furthermore, when it comes to, when you said that, oh yeah, there were people who didn't hear directly from the Imam and they used other methods. Yeah, they used it by transmission. That's word of mouth. That's the entire thing that both of our hadith corpuses are built upon. You don't hear it we didn't hear, how to pray or how to make wudu from the Prophet ﷺ directly, but we heard it from someone who heard it from someone who heard it from someone who heard it from a Sahabi who heard it from the Prophet ﷺ. That's the foundation of our hadith methodology. So the same can apply. That all counts as Nas, whether you hear it directly from the Imam or you hear it through somebody who heard it from the Imam, or you heard it like 2 or 3 or 4 people down the line. We also have proof from Imam Rida, I think, who said, let me read it and then I'm gonna post it in just a second. Al-Kafi, Volume 1, page 285, narrated Ahmed ibn Umar, who has said that he has asked the following from Abu al-Hasan al-Rida. Such proofs are being the eldest son, possession of superior moral achievements, and one being appointed as the executor of the will. So much so, wasiyah, so much so that people would come to the town and ask who is appointed as the executor of the will of Fulan. It would be said to them, Fulan, son of Fulan, aka the zahir of the wasiyah, and they would go along wherever the armament would go. So simply, the other methods that you mentioned, establishing, and let me just post that. I have to find it. But yeah, the other methods that you mentioned, they might count as secondary or tertiary proofs, or within your methodology, you might say that these establish help people gain additional yaqeen. But the foundation is nas. This is according to your madhab. That's the end of my time.
Okay, so I'm not saying nas is not necessary. I never said you don't need nas. What I'm saying is that it's not the only way to establish imama. So look, there's nas for all 12 of the imams. I'm not denying that nas is like an important way of establishing imama and that it exists for our imams. What I'm saying is that, again, it's not the only way to establish imama. So there are other methods. And actually, the evidences that you yourself are sending are refuting yourself. Because, for example, the scan that you sent of Muhsini literally disproves your point. Because he's saying that there's not mutawatir nas according to his methodology, right? But he still believes in the 12 imams. So it's not based on the nas, then it's based on something else. And I showed you Kulaini again, use other methods besides nas in order to prove the imamat. Again, I'm not saying that nas is not necessary. I'm saying that these other methods can also establish imama. And in the case of the companions of the imams, no, that's not nas. I don't know what you were saying that this is also a case of nas. They went to him and they asked him questions, right? They went to Abdullah al-Afta first and they asked him questions. And when he couldn't answer satisfactorily, they went and asked the same questions to Imam Kadhim alayhi salam, and he was able to answer. So based on this, they were able to determine who the correct imam was. And again, even the hadith you quoted from Imam Rida alayhi salam actually refutes the point that you're making as well. Because notice, he didn't just say nas. He said other things, like he said superiority in merits, right? So, again, the imams themselves in hadith tell us of other other methods of determining the imam, and the companions of the imams themselves practice other methods in determining who is the imam. So all of these, again, there's nas for all 12 of the imams, but that does not mean that we cannot use other methods, like, for example, process of elimination that I told you, in order to establish the imams. And proof that this methodology was used by the early Imamiyya, literally in Ibn Qaba al-Razi's works, right? He, in his refutations of the Zaydis and the followers of Ja'far al-Kadhdhab, he mentions their points and then he refutes them, right? So he mentions that they used to call the Ithna Asharis La Budiyya, because they said that we only believe in the 12th hidden imam because we have no other option, right? Because a lot of these people who believed in the 12th imam, they believed because of the hadith, for example, there must always be a hujjah on the earth, right? So because there must always be a hujjah on the earth, that means that there must be a hujjah today. And all the Shia were in agreement on this hadith. Even the followers of Ja'far al-Kadhdhab accepted this hadith, and they used this as proof of the Imamate of Ja'far. So, again, there are all these different evidences that somebody can use. There's the hadith about the Imam has to go from father to son, right? And this is one of the evidences that was used against the Imamate of Ja'far al-Kadhdhab. They didn't just say to Ja'far al-Kadhdhab, hey, you don't have nas. They also look at the way that the early Shia argued against his imama, right? For example, they would point to his flaws of character, right? Like he was a known drunkard, for example, or he opposed the previous imams, or he displayed insufficient knowledge, or all of these different secondary means. This is how they would disprove the imamat of Ja'far and prove the imamat of the 12th Imam alayhi salam. So again, this, it definitely has precedence. This is actually embedded within Shiism itself, these other methods of establishing imamah.
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. So Hashim, you asked, we had a debate, and you thought that it's bad for Super.Omar. He does these traps. These are the traps that Super.Omar has puts in the discussions.
Please focus on the debate with Silverado.
Hey, I'm focusing. What are you doing? Why are you interrupting my time? I'm gonna mute you actually. Okay, so yeah, so this is one of the traps, the one that he has just fallen into. How does Toasty keep getting unmuted? The trap is that his entire premise in the beginning was that what did he say? If anyone remembers, and it's recorded, inshallah, I'll play it back when I make the edits or whatever. But he said that the methodology with which we prove the Imama of Ali radiallahu anhu is the same methodology with which we prove the Imama of all the other 11 Imams. Then I made him go off and establish that he himself uses other methods to prove the Imama of the later Imams, which is different from what he said originally. He said originally that we use the same methodology. And what's the methodology for establishing the Imam of Ali? What's the methodology? It is Nas, Hadith al-Ghadir, Hadith Manzila, Hadith this and Hadith that, which according to you is the way to which to know the Imam of Ali. Did people go around quizzing Ali? Did people go around using process of elimination? Did people go around saying, "Oh, you're the eldest son"? No, they didn't do that for Ali. You said it's the same methodology. That's the title. That's what you said you meant by the title of the debate. The entailment is that it's the same methodology, or sorry, not debate, discussion. So yeah, you've fallen for my trap, and you've basically now just conceded that it's not the same methodology. It's not. You use other things, just like you mentioned in Kulaini. You gave me all the proof that I needed. So yeah, and by the way, just to add context for the hadith, just so we're clear, this one. If you're not as informed about al-Kafi, that's fine. In this hadith, the context is that Ar-Rida is actually negating the Waqifah who wanted to quiz him, and I guess Allahu A'lam, he couldn't answer their quizzes, or he didn't want to answer their quizzes, whatever. فَأَمَّا الْمَسَائِلْ فَلَيْسَ فِيهَا حُجَّةٌ. This is part of the hadith. He says, and as for quizzing the masail, the questions, this is not a hujjah. This is not a way to determine who the imam is. You should not use this quizzing methodology to determine who the imam is. So that's what Ar-Rida said. But anyways, yeah, that's all I had to say basically. I think, Allahu A'lam, I think the discussion's over, but let's see what you have to say.
Okay, so literally we use the exact same methodology for Imam Ali alayhi salam as the later Imams. I don't know where you got this idea that we only use Nas to establish the Imamate of Imam Ali alayhi salam. So there's no trap here whatsoever. Like, look at the arguments that we use for Imam Ali alayhi salam, right? We use Nas, that's one of them. Another one is Afdaliya over the others, right? Like, for example, we appeal to Hadith al-Tayr, right? So again, this is the same methodology that we use for the Imams. It's not just Nas, it's also Afdaliya, it's also superior knowledge. Like we quote, for example, the hadith that Imam Ali alayhi salam is Bab Madinatul Ilm, right? So he's the door to the city of knowledge. We quote the hadith where he says, ask me. We quote all of these hadith. Why? Because they're all different ways of establishing his imamah. Like they all complement each other. There's nas. There's superior knowledge of Islam. There's superior merits over any of the other companions. There's infallibility. There's like all of these different things that we appeal to. So again, that's literally the same kind of stuff that we appeal to with the later Imams. So I don't know where you got this idea that this is a trap, or that the Shia only appeal to Nas to establish the Imamate of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Yes, we do use Nas, and we do use Nas for the other Imams as well. But like I keep saying, that's not the only method. There's a bunch of methods, and we apply those methods not only on Imam Ali alayhi salam, but on the other Imams as well.
Alright, just gonna answer that real quick. I don't think I'm even gonna talk for 30 seconds this time. First of all, proof of Afdaliyah is still Nas. I don't know if you know how that hadith player was transmitted. It's Nas. It's not like, we all see it in our dreams or anything. It's Nas. So that all still counts as Nas, right? The Prophet ﷺ is saying something, or hadith player, it's still a hadith. It's still like an action of the Prophet ﷺ that you use to determine. So that's still Nas from the predecessor, right? And yeah, I think that's it. And then yeah, so it's really simple. Yeah, Silverado. Prove to me that Hasan al-Askari is a divinely appointed infallible imam. Can you do it using Nas, yes or no? It's really that simple. Can you do it the same way that you do for Imam Ali? Yes or no? You can't. That's why we had the whole discussion about, oh, you can also use quizzing, you can also use this other process of elimination thing. And then the other thing you said is, once we established that Imam Ali is a divinely appointed fellow Imam, you disprove Sunni books. Well, actually, if you're using Sunni books to establish something, and you're able to establish something using Sunni books, that means that Sunni books are not tahrifed to the point where you're not able to establish it. So you're not able to, first of all, even disprove Sunni books from that methodology. But second of all, that certainly doesn't entail that your corpus is entirely sahih. So which hadiths from your corpus are acceptable now because of this? I would ascertain there's only those that also lead to the same proposition, which is that Imam Ali is a divinely appointed fellow. And again, this is just me being generous, granting for the sake of argument that Ali radiallahu anhu is a divinely appointed fellow Imam.
Okay, so when we're talking about nas, right, that means divine appointment, right? So it means like the previous infallible appointing or making known the appointment of the next infallible. So like just some fadail or something like that, like for example him being Bab Madinatul Ilm doesn't count as like a nas evidence. And not just that, but let's like, we have evidence besides anything that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, right? Like for example, Imam Ali alayhi salam has a famous hadith where he says, "Saluni," right? Like ask me, that kind of hadith is only reported from the Imams. Like Imam Sadiq alayhi salam also has that reported about him in even in Sunni books. So like their knowledge is one way that we do this, and nas is another way that we do this. Superiority over others is another way that we do this. So this stuff doesn't just require like nas from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? I mean, if you want to appeal to superiority even by other means, we can do that without appealing to a single hadith of Rasulullah. Like we can look at what statements of other ashab, for example, even in your own books, which say that Imam Ali alayhi salam was superior. Even the statement of Aisha, for example. And then about Sunni books, we don't say that they're completely false. So yes, there are true and authentic hadith in the Sunni books. What we say is that as a whole, the corpus can't be relied upon because of the foundational flaws that like went into its making. Like for example, the stuff that I mentioned before, the systematic weakening of Shia narrators, the censoring of certain reports that Sunni hadith scholars found problematic. So all of this stuff is why once we establish the Imamate of Imam Ali alayhi salam, which we can do from Sunni books, now the Sunni hadith corpus is no longer the only way. You can't say, oh no, bring me Sunni hadith for the Imamate of Imam Hasan al-Askari alayhi salam. No, you can't do that because like we've already established firstly that the Sunni and the Sunnis would have had no interest in recording his nas either, because to them he was just some scholar. Why would they record his nas? So then, yes, we would have a separate discussion about the reliability of the Shia corpus. I'm not saying that the lack of reliability of the Sunni corpus automatically proves the reliability of the Shia corpus, but I'm saying what it proves is that now we don't just have to say, hey, bring it to me from the Sunni corpus. The Sunni corpus now is no better than the Shia corpus, and then now we look at the Shia corpus and we prove why that is like a valid source of evidence.
Again, I don't know which direction to go. How generous should I be with this? Oh, sorry, I forgot to switch over. Yeah, so first of all, we have a couple of things. You have to make the positive case for the nas that exists in your corpus, right? So that's the first thing. You can't. This is a very lazy approach to just say, oh well, yeah, your hadiths are bad, therefore our hadiths are good. That's not how it works. There's also the Zaydi corpus. There's also the Ismaili corpus, which are congruent with this idea that Ali radiallahu anhu was the divinely appointed infallible Imam. You have to also like prove basically that your corpus is the only one that we can take from. On top of that, I actually just have one question, right? So, how can a fallible person ascertain who the infallible is using quizzing? It's a simple question. Because if the fallible person asks a question to an infallible that only an infallible would know, then the fallible person is not able to determine that question is correct or not. So like there's no point of asking the question. Whatever the imam says, or whatever the candidate for imam says, you have to accept it, right? Like if he's the imam, then maybe he knows more than you and you're not able to falsify what he said. If he's not the imam, then you wouldn't be able to determine that either, because there's still a possibility that he just said the right answer and you yourself as a fallible person don't know. So this quizzing methodology doesn't work. Ar-Rada was right when Ar-Rada said فَأَمَّا الْمَسَائِل لَيْسَ فَلَيْسَ فِيهَا حُجَّةٌ. This is what Ar-Rada said. Like, he himself is saying that this quizzing methodology doesn't make any sense. So it's the same thing like here. Like, it's not a hujjah. Just because an imam gives an answer that disagrees with your answer or the answer that you think is correct, that doesn't mean, again, this is within the 12-hour paradigm, that doesn't mean that the imam is necessarily wrong. It could just mean that you're wrong. Let's see. So yeah, so explain the quizzing methodology, how that will work, and then also explain to me why the Zaydi and Ismaili corpuses are not acceptable.
Okay, so again, like I literally just said this last time, and then you like said that I said the exact opposite. I didn't say that accepting Imam Ali alayhi salam proves the 12 corpus. What I said is that it disproves the Sunni corpus, which disproves your line of reasoning that we need nas for the later Imams from the Sunni corpus. So once we've established the Imamate of Imam Ali alayhi salam, you can no longer claim that bring me nas from the Sunni corpus only. I didn't say this automatically establishes the 12 corpus. We can. That's a whole like different discussion that one would need to get into as to how to establish the authenticity of 12 hadith. But what that would do is disprove this specific argument, this specific line of reasoning that bring me nas from Sunni books for later Imams. Okay, and then as for the questioning the Imams, so firstly, this previous Imams, if there's a companion, for example, like a companion who's been with Imam Baqir alayhi salam, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, and he knows a specific fiqh ruling from them, right? And he asks an Imam candidate, and the Imam gives the wrong answer, or the Imam candidate gives the wrong answer, then this is a clear way of knowing that the person is not an Imam. But this is for those who know the fiqh, right? This is not about laymen, because like you said, the lay person, let's see, who doesn't know the fatwa, he goes and he asks the Imam, and the Imam tells him something other than what he thinks. Okay, then this guy doesn't know, like he thinks the Imam was wrong, but the Imam was actually correct. But the faqih, right, the person, like let's say the likes of Zurara, or Abu Basir or Muhammad ibn Muslim, these people who know the fiqh, they know the hadith of the previous Imams, they can easily test the successor and find out whether what he's saying is correct or not. Actually, the hadith from Imam Rada alayhi salam, which you haven't established its authenticity, by the way, but it itself refutes you, because the hadith mentions other means besides nas. So yes, it says that quizzing is not hujjah, but what it says is also that superior merits is a hujjah, right? Like in the ways that it's describing how one can know the Imam. Not only does it mention nas, it also mentions other things like afdaliyah. And we have we can make a very easy reconciliation with this hadith of Imam Rada alayhi salam talking about the quizzing not being a hujjah. Like I mentioned previously, that it's not a hujjah for the lay Shia, but it is a hujjah for the knowledgeable, like the elite among the ashab of the Imams. And how we know that is that the Imams, these companions themselves use this methodology. Like we know this for Ja'far, and we know this for Abdullah al-Afta, and we actually have hadith as well, which say that the hadith that the Imam is asked about haram and halal, and this is a way of proving the Imamate of the Imam. And let me just send the hadith right now. Okay, so this is a hadith in which Imam Sadiq alayhi salam is asked, how would one verify the imama of somebody who claims the imama, right? What does he say? They are asked about the rules of halal and haram. And then he gives 3 other evidences. He must be the closest person to the preceding imam, he must have the armament, and he would be the wasi of the previous imam. So, like, again, we have hadith which say that questioning is a valid means, and there's an easy reconciliation for these two, like I mentioned to you previously, which is that the questioning is for the learned among the Sahaba and not among the lay Shia.
Okay, so we have a couple of topics going in parallel here. we can very easily say that Arada abrogated this quizzing methodology, right? Well, Arada clearly wasn't a fan of it, right? And there's another source from Rijal al-Kashi. I don't know if you'll accept Rijal al-Kashi, where there's a similar thing, right? The reason why Arada didn't like this quizzing methodology is, oh shit, I forgot to start the camera. Is because the Waqifa would quiz him and he didn't like it. And then the other thing that I wanted to say is, yeah, so even if we prove that the Sunni hadith, like the Sunni corpus, well, hang on, actually, I don't even want to give you that. If, like, yes or no, is the Sunni corpus are we able to derive from the Sunni corpus in a qat'i clear manner that Ali radiallahu anhu is a divinely appointed infallible imam? That's a yes or no question. I'm going to repeat it one more time. Yes or no, from the Sunni corpus, are we able to establish qat'i for sure with certainty that Imam Ali is a divinely appointed infallible imam? Yes or no, please.
Yes, we can establish with certainty from the Sunni corpus that Imam Ali alayhi salam is a divinely appointed imam. Regarding what you said previously about Imam Rida alayhi salam, that's absurd to say that you can abrogate a methodology for finding out who the imam is. Please bring proof for your claim that the Waqifa were asking Imam Rida alayhi salam for, like, that they were quizzing him and that he didn't like this, because you're just, like, making this up on the spot. And I mean, I could easily say that the Waqifa themselves had no knowledge, and that's why Imam Rida alayhi salam said that this is not a source of hujjah for them, right? Because they themselves don't know the correct answer. How are they going to quiz and ask him? So bring proof that he abrogated it. Bring proof that that the Waqifa were quizzing Imam Rida alayhi salam, and yeah.
Okay, so if we say from the, I'll bring that other thing in just a second. I want to focus on the line of questioning. Inshallah, if I forget, then you can bring it up again and say, hey, you're avoiding the question. We'll talk about the Waqifa thing at that time. But I want to focus on the line of questioning about how to invalidate the Sunni hadiths. If we are able to establish this, which we are, again, granting for the sake of this argument that it's true, that Imam Ali is a divinely appointed infallible imam, then on what basis do you say that Ali radiallahu anhu is on what basis do you say that the Sunni corpus is not reliable? Because all I'm granting for the purpose of this debate is that Ali is a divinely appointed infallible imam. That is congruent with the Sunni corpus, according to you. On what basis do you say that the Sunni corpus is not reliable?
So how do we know that the Sunni corpus isn't reliable? Well, we know for a fact that they tampered with hadith, for example. We know for a fact that they censored hadith that was problematic for their position. We know for a fact that they systematically weakened Shia narrators. And like, all of this is very well established. We have a video on the Imamiyya channel which is about this. I'm doing a video on Sunni hadith censorship, which will come out in about a week, inshallah. So I encourage all of you to watch that. But there is just like an unbelievable amount of evidence for Sunni hadith transmitters and compilers tampering, censoring, and weakening based on their own, like, preconceived theological ideas. So that's how we know that it's not reliable. And this does not, and the fact that the Imamate of Imam Ali alayhi salam can be proven in the Sunni corpus is despite this fact. It's not because of this. So, and the Sunni hadith corpus, like even the primary narrators that you guys rely on, for example, Aisha, Abu Hurairah, Ibn Umar, like all of these people were people who opposed the Imam. So, like, again, once you've established the Imamate of Imam Ali alayhi salam, their hadith is no longer a hujjah on you. Okay.
Okay, so I'd just like to remind you of the topic of the discussion, which is that we're discussing if the Imama of Ali radiallahu anhu itself establishes that the Imama of the later Imams. Your whole argument is that once we establish the Imama of Ali, that therefore entails that the Sunni corpus is not reliable. Therefore, your excuse of bring me from Sunni hadith corpus exclusively is invalid. My point is that there's a paradox here. There's essentially a paradox that you fall into, or a dilemma. I don't know which one is better. But yeah, if you say that the Sunni corpus qat'i undeniably establishes the Imam of Ali radiallahu anhu, then you can no longer accuse the Sunnis of distortion to the point where such a fact is not not acceptable. Like you lose that. You lose that excuse. You're not able to appeal to that anymore. That's the yeah, that's one issue. And then the second issue is that even if we grant that the Sunni corpus is not reliable, that still does not prove that the 12er corpus is reliable, right? Because, I mean, as far as I'm aware, there is no nas for the later Imams in the Zaydi books. There's no nas for the later Imams in Ibadi books. There's no nas for the later Imams, meaning Al-Askari and so on and so forth, in the Ismaili books. This nas is only established by the 12er books, right? So you have to now prove to me the reliability of the 12er books. If you don't do that, then I can't really, like, you haven't really proven the point in the debate, because the debate again is about the later Imams, later meaning Al-Askari, Al-Hadi, Al-Jawad. If you don't prove that, if you don't prove the reliability of the 12er books, then really you're not going to get there, unless you can bring me some kind of nas for Al-Askari in the Zaydi books, saying that he was a divinely appointed infallible Imam. Or you can bring me some nas from the Ismaili books that Al-Askari was a divinely appointed infallible Imam. Otherwise, you lose the discussion. I hope you're following here.
Okay, so you are the one who brought up the line of questioning about the Sunni Hadith corpus, right? So you can't say that, let me remind you of the topic. You literally asked me a question and I answered the question. Okay, and as to why, we can still prove the Imamate of Imam Ali alayhi salam from the Sunni corpus, even if it's overall unreliable. We're not saying that because you narrate from unreliable people, that means that they're always lying and they never tell the truth, so we can't rely on anything that they say. No, unreliable people can narrate the truth at times, and if they're narrating something which is against their own interests, actually that's a proof for the veracity of that particular narration, right? So, and the Sunnis didn't care for the later Imams so as to record nas for them. So why would we expect, we wouldn't expect to find nas for the later Imams in the Sunni corpus. We hardly have hadith from the later Imams in the Sunni corpus. In fact, we don't have any at all pretty much for the later Imams. So it's an absurd request to ask. And similarly for the Zaydis and the Ismailis, why would they be recording hadith of Imam Hassan al-Askari alayhi salam or Imam Ali al-Hadi alayhi salam? There's no reason for them to record hadith from those people, let alone nas, right? You keep saying that disproving the Sunni corpus doesn't prove the 12er corpus. I never said that it does. I explicitly said that all I'm saying is that your line of reasoning that bring me nas from the Sunni corpus is flawed, and the establishing the authenticity of the Shia corpus is a totally different discussion. And yes, somebody would have to do that before appealing to Shia hadith. But what does get established is that the Sunni hadith corpus is unreliable. So you can't say that only bring me proof from the Sunni corpus, or you can't even say only bring me proof from the Sunni or Zaydi or Ismaili corpus for the Imamate of the later Imams, because again they weren't even narrating hadith from them. How it's ridiculous to expect nas from them.
Okay, let me modify the question, because again, for the purpose of this discussion, I've only granted that Ali radiallahu anhu is a divinely appointed infallible Imam. So prove using that fact, and I'll even grant for the sake of argument, even though it doesn't even follow. There's a dilemma, there's a paradox. If you're able to establish it from the Sunni corpus, then the Sunni corpus then your whole argument that the Sunni corpus is this weird fabrication falls apart. If you're able to prove from there, then it really does fall apart. But let's grant that as well. Because I don't want to go in circles here. I'm going to give you that. Now prove to me using any reliable corpus, that Hassan al-Askari is a divinely appointed infallible Imam. Go ahead.
Okay, so there's no dilemma, because I never said the Sunni corpus is 100% fabricated. So, yes, the Sunni hadith corpus can have truth in it. That doesn't mean it's not black or white, right? We don't have to say either the whole thing is reliable or it doesn't have any truth in it whatsoever. Even from a Sunni perspective, if you were to look at the hadith of the Shia from a Sunni perspective, you would also have to say that the Shia were not just not everything in the Shia books is a fabrication on the Imams, because we have stuff that are attributed to the Imams which are the same as what are attributed to the Imams or attributed to the Prophet ﷺ or attributed to Imam Ali alayhi salam in your own books. And the proof for that, we have Musa wrote an entire document on that, right? The Shia Hadith Project, which is on ahlusunnah.net, which I can link also here, which establishes that even from a Sunni perspective, there's truth in the Shia hadith. So similarly, even from a Shia perspective, there's truth in the Sunni hadith. And you said established you proof from a reliable corpus that Imam Hassan al-Askari alayhi salam is the Imam. Okay, then we turn to the Shia corpus. There's countless hadith of that. And then you're going to see how do we establish the reliability of the Shia corpus. That's an entirely different discussion. We can have it at a different time because that's not what this specific discussion what you wanted to discuss. But like that would be my reply to that, is that we have to establish the reliability of the 12 corpus, but we've already established the unreliability of the Sunni corpus. So now you no longer have that argument.
Okay, so you're kind of conflating two things. If you prove that if you prove that there is censorship in the Sunni corpus, there's a couple of things. So first of all, if you're claiming that the Sunni corpus is contains within it fabrications, that does not establish that it is not that the truth can't be found within the Sunni corpus, and that's what you need. That's what you want. What you want is the claim that truth cannot. There are certain truths like X that cannot be found within the Sunni corpus. Therefore, your standard of bring me from the Sunni corpus is false, right? That's what you need. That's what you're trying to get to, and you are not able to prove that using the Imamate of Ali, because Imamate of Ali, if I grant that it is true, does not fall into that class of information of truths that cannot be ascertained within the Sunni corpus. Like, I don't understand why you're not understanding this. If the Imamate of Ali is true, and it can be established qat'an from the Sunni corpus, you lose this argument of like, oh yeah, the Sunnis censored information. Like, you lose that. You lose this, like, there exists a class of information X which cannot be established from the Sunni corpus. Like, you lose that argument. I don't understand why you're not getting it. Please like address that. And then after that, you have an additional thing of like, this discussion is about, at the end of this discussion, you have to prove the imama of the later imams. Like, that's the second part of this, right? So the first is Imam of Ali. The second part is, what does it entail? The later imams. So you have to somehow get from Ali to the later imams. You're not going to do that without building up the reliability of the 12 corpus. You keep saying that's a separate discussion. You're going to have to do it here, man. Like, that's part of the discussion. If you don't establish that, then, I mean, I tend to say that there's no winners and losers in discussions, but like, yeah, you didn't do what you came here to discuss. Yeah, so two things there. So explain this dilemma thing of like, it's not about saying that the Sunni corpus contains within it fabrications. You're kind of strawmanning me there. You are saying that there exists a class of information which cannot be established from the Sunni corpus, right? And the Imam of Ali is not an example of that, because you yourself said that the Imam of Ali can be established exclusively qat'an from the Sunni corpus.
Okay, so firstly, the topic of the discussion that you wanted to, like when you presented this to me, was, does the Imamate of Imam Ali alayhi salam entail the Imamate of the later Imams? It wasn't prove every single one of the later Imams. Like, if we were to do that, establish the veracity of the 12 corpus, and then go through proving each Imam, that would take a lot of time. I don't have that time right now. I just agreed to a VC discussion with you. Yes, we can do that. But when you don't even accept the imamate of the first imam, I think that would be a waste of time, because there's no point. The imamate of the later imams is predicated on the imamate of their predecessors, and when you don't accept the imamate of Imam Ali alayhi salam, then like, you can't expect me to then prove to you the imamate of Imam Hassan alayhi salam, let alone Imam Hassan al-Askari alayhi salam, right? Regarding what you said about the Sunni corpus, again, I'm not saying the Sunni corpus has no truths. I'm saying it doesn't have all truths. If, as you say, you grant the imamate of Imam Ali alayhi salam, then now, like, what do you have left of, like, the Sunni books? Now, Aisha and Ibn Umar are liars. Abu Bakr is the one who usurped the caliphate from Imam Ali alayhi salam. So all the people who believed in their caliphates, everybody who graded the hadith, all of them are wrong, right? Because their presuppositions that they based this hadith, in this entire hadith system on, are wrong. So therefore we can no longer rely on this corpus.
Yeah, you're still not able to prove what you need to prove in order to even begin to get to your point, right? So, and again, this whole argument of like, oh, prove Ali first. Dude, I'm granting that for the sake of this discussion, the discussion is not about are you able to prove it without Ali. I'm saying, I'm granting you this thing. You're saying, oh yeah, this is a prerequisite in order to prove what I need to prove. Okay, cool. The discussion is there an entailment relationship? So, like, you're granting, you lose this excuse of, oh, it's impossible until you grant the Imam of Ali. Like, do it, right? Like, do it using the Imam of Ali. That's the first thing. Second of all, yeah, if you prove that there are contradictions within the Sunni corpus, that's still, which you haven't even done, because you just said qat'an, like it's qat'i from the Sunni corpus. It's like clear as day from the Sunni corpus that Imam Ali is a divinely appointed infallible Imam. Even if there are contradictory hadiths, which by the way, you guys have contradictory hadiths in your books as well, but that does not negate. Again, I'm being so generous here. No Sunni would ever say this. But I'm granting this to you just out of magnanimity, just to be overly generous, to show that I can give you everything in my house, and you still won't be able to prove the Imam of the later Imams, right? No Sunni will ever say what I'm saying right now. You still haven't been able to prove that Hasan al-Askari is a divinely appointed infallible Imam. You still haven't proved that there's a class of information that exists outside the Sunni corpus that is true. Like, you haven't proven that. You need that in order to prove the nas from the later Imams. You need that in order to make the logical jump that, oh, you need to take from the 12 corpus, right? Like, you have to prove, like, you have to get there. I don't understand how you're trying to beat around the bush and like, not prove the Imam of the later Imams. That's part of the discussion. Prove the entailment. Like, that is the discussion. You have to prove it. So far, all you've proven is, yeah, the Sunni corpus we're able to prove this from the Sunni corpus, and there are some, hadiths from the, within the Sunni corpus, they kind of go against this, but yeah, somewhat of a problem. But you haven't proven anything you need in order to actually get to the end of this discussion.
Okay, so what I need to prove is that proving the Imamate of Imam Ali alayhi salam entails the Imamate of the later Imams. And the proof for that I gave at the very beginning, and we were discussing that, which is that the same methods that one uses to establish Imam Ali alayhi salam's Imamah can also be used for the later Imams and would give you the same result. It would give you the line of the 12 Imams. So that's stuff like Nas, that's stuff like Afdaliyah, superior knowledge, etc. Again, this is not prove the Imamate of Imam Hasan al-Askari alayhi salam. You said prove that the Imamate of Imam Ali alayhi salam entails the Imamate of the later Imams. And I explained to you exactly what I meant by that when I said that it entails it, which is that the same methodology that you use establishes the other 11 Imams, not just Imam Ali alayhi salam. And no, you can't just grant that Imam Ali alayhi salam is the divinely appointed Imam, because then what you're doing is you're nuking your own corpus. Like, because if Imam Ali alayhi salam is the divinely appointed Imam, now you can't solely rely on the Sunni corpus. You can't keep appealing to the Sunni corpus, because the presuppositions that were that were foundational in the making of the Sunni corpus are false if you accept that Imam Ali alayhi salam was the divinely appointed Imam. So that just destroys your entire corpus and destroys your entire foundation that you're even making these claims on in the first place.
Okay, so I don't even know where to start, man. So first of all, the discussion is not can the same methodology be used, right? If you want to shift the goalpost of the discussion, I mean, I can't even do that. I can even shift the goalpost and you still won't be able to do it. But let's do that. Let's shift the goalpost and make it, does the methodology with which the Imam of Ali radiallahu anhu is established establish the Imam of the later Imams. Okay, let's do that. Yeah, that's the new discussion topic. Okay, we're shifting it just out of being even more generous. Okay, let's do that. Prove it to me using the methodology. The methodology that we use to prove the Imam of Ali radiallahu anhu is mutawatir hadith in the Sunni corpus. Go ahead, prove it to me. Using that methodology, prove to me that Hasan al-Askari is a divinely appointed infallible Imam. Please, go ahead.
Okay, so there's no shifting of the goalposts. You asked me if there was an entailment, and I told you exactly how it entailed. Actually, even before this VC discussion, even before we set this up, in the text chat, where we were discussing this, I explained to you what I meant by when I said that it was entailed. I said it's entailed in the same way that the prophethood of the later prophets is entailed by the prophethood of the earlier prophets, and that's the same methods that you use to determine their truth is the same method by which you can determine that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a true prophet. So in the same way, the methods that you use to determine that Imam Ali alayhi salam is the true Imam are the same methods that give you the imamate of the other 11. So like from the very beginning of the discussion in voice chat and the discussion in text, I've made this very clear what exactly I mean by entailment. So the only person, like you have been, shifting all around, making the discussion about the Sunni corpus and all of this stuff like that. So I'm not shifting any goalposts. Now, like, again, what you keep appealing to, this is not the only methodology. Like, yes, we can prove imamate of Imam Hassan al-Askari alayhi salam. First, you accept the imamate of the 10 imams before him. Then we'll give you nas, we'll show you, like, there's no other potential candidates in the first place. There's process of elimination. There's the fact that the supporters of Imam Ali al-Hadi alayhi salam all went to Imam Hassan al-Askari alayhi salam. There's the fact that the only other possible candidate, which was Ja'far, was a fasiq and didn't have knowledge and opposed his own father, right, which is not possible for an imam. So there's all of these like supplementary methodologies which we can use, which make it like clear beyond a shadow of a doubt who the imams are. It's not just show me nas from Sunni books even.
Okay, so you very clearly have shifted the goalpost, and I'm even so you don't even need to like prove that you did shift the goalpost or not. Like I'm granting it. I'm saying fine. You know what? If you want to shift the goal, it's kind of a side remark. I take it back. I mean, it's clear that you have, but whatever. Like whatever. Prove. Instead of waffling, prove to me using the methodology with which we established the Imam of the first Imam. Use that same methodology right here, right now, to prove the Imam of Hassan, Hussein, Sajjad, Baqir, Sadiq, Kazim, Rida, Jawad, Hadi, Askari, and Mahdi. Please, go ahead.
Okay, again, I'm not shifting the goalposts. You keep trying to say this to distract from, what I said, which is, again, like somebody can go back to the beginning of this recording, they can look at the screenshot that you just sent in debate text, which just like refutes what you're saying, which is that when I said that the Imamate of Imam Ali alayhi salam entails the Imamate of the later Imams, what I meant is that the same exact methodology that gets you the Imamate of Imam Ali alayhi salam will also get you the Imamate of the later Imams. So how can we prove the Imamate of the later Imams? Well, how do we prove the Imamate of Imam Ali alayhi salam? One of those is nas, right? There's hadith of nas of the later Imams. If you want to see that, you can just go to Al-Kafi and or there's many other books as well which contain nas of the Imams, right? Kifayat al-Athar, if you want me to bring you like a compilation of the nas of every single Imam, yes, I can do that. It'll take time. So that's nas. Then there's afdaliyah, right? There's the fact that the Imams in every generation were the best people of their time and were known for their knowledge and all of this stuff. There's the fact that the Imam has to be from the Ahlul Bayt, right? And from within the Ahlul Bayt, there's a certain number of candidates, and then we can disqualify certain candidates based on like different factors like lack of knowledge or not being the son of their predecessor or so on and so forth. And then we get a line of 12 Imams which fulfills all of which each of those 12 can be proven in the same way that you can prove Imam Ali alayhi salam.
Okay. I don't know why people are not following. You are now you said it'll take you time. It actually won't take any time at all. All you have to do is go to thaqalain.net. I can do it for you even. Go to the thing on Al-Kafi, like Tacit, just search up Control F Tacit, chapter 65, 66, all the way down to 76. They give all the nas, right? It's very easy. I can do it right now. Copy link address, paste, right? You can do that. The problem is you need to prove that these texts are reliable to me. Like you can't get around proving the reliability of Kitab al-Kafi and the 12-ver corpus and all this. Like you have to. I'm doing your work for you, right? But you have to prove that all this stuff is reliable. You have to prove, simply prove, Imam Ali being a divinely appointed infallible Imam doesn't prove that all this stuff is infallible. And I could keep going and keep going. But you're trying to make a leap of faith here, and I'm not going to take that leap of faith with you. As generous as I have been, right? I'm not going to take that final leap of faith, right? So you have to now prove to me that this stuff is reliable. You have to prove that to me. One way or another, you're going to have to prove to me that this is reliable. If you don't do that, then you failed in what you said that you're going to do, which is using the same methodology of Nas, right? Yeah, I agree. It's the same methodology, Nas, right? But Hadith al-Ghadir is truly mutawatir. We have, chains for this. It's in a corpus that I, as a Sunni, accept. That's not the case with these other pieces of Nas, right? It's by definition a different methodology. So prove it to me using this corpus, this al-Kafi. Prove to me that this is a hujjah. Prove to me that this is reliable. If you don't do that, then you're not using the same methodology.
Okay, so firstly, tawatur is not the condition, right? Itminan is the condition, and tawatur is a way of getting itminan. So, regarding your claims, again, the discussion topic is not prove the reliability of al-Kafi. It's not prove the reliability of the Shia corpus. It's does the Imamate of Imam Ali alayhi salam entail the Imamate of the later Imams, which I already discussed how it does. I'm not going to get into proving the reliability of the Shia corpus right now, because firstly, it's not relevant to the discussion. It's not the discussion topic. And thirdly, it's going to take a lot of time, which, I'm already, we should wrap this up relatively shortly, because I agreed to just a VC with you. It's not a formal debate or anything. But if you want a separate discussion on proving the reliability of the Shia corpus, we can set that up. But that's not the topic of the current debate. So you're trying to change the topic of the debate, or the discussion, from is Imam Ali alayhi salam's, or does Imam Ali alayhi salam's imam entail the imamate of the later Imams, to now prove the reliability of the Shia corpus.
Okay, I'm going to make this very simple. There's a question in the scan, okay? Choose option 1 or 2. Let P be the proposition that Ali radiallahu anhu is the divinely appointed infallible Imam. There's 2 options here. What are you asserting? Are you asserting P and Q, meaning some other proposition Q is needed in order to prove that the 11 Imams later? Or does Imam Ali being a divinely appointed Imam in and of itself, that's it, that's all you need. Khalas, some way, somehow, Ali radiallahu anhu himself being a divinely appointed Imam automatically establishes the 11 Imams after him. Which one is it? Is it option 1 or option 2? Please, just say, which one is it? Which one are you asserting?
What I'm asserting is the same thing that I said before at the discussion, the same thing that I said in the beginning of the discussion, which is that I'm not saying the Imamate of Imam Ali alayhi salam in and of itself establishes the other 11 Imams. What I'm saying is that how you get to the Imamate of Imam Ali alayhi salam, just by being consistent with that methodology, you'll get the other 11. There's no other option other than to get those 11 if you're consistent with applying that methodology. So that is what I'm saying.
Okay, so that methodology is, according to you, using the Sunni corpus. Can you please, using the Sunni corpus, establish the Imam of the 11 Imams after him?
No, it's not according to the Sunni corpus. I just explained to you how there's a bunch of different ways of proving the Imamate of the Imams. And again, even the Nas, right? One of the ways is Nas. It doesn't mean Nas only from the Sunni corpus. We would look at other corpuses like the Shia corpus to establish the Nas of the Imams. If you prove the Imamate of Imam Ali alayhi salam, then the Sunni corpus is no longer hujjah. You can't keep appealing to that. Show me the Imamate of the later Imams in the Sunni corpus, for the reasons that I explained. That the Sunni corpus foundationally is built on presuppositions, which are disproven if you accept the Imamate of Imam Ali alayhi salam.
Yes or no, exclusively and only. Imagine all the corpuses in the world were blown out of the window. Okay, all we have is Quran and Sunni Hadith. That's it. That's all we have. Are we able to determine the Imam of Ali radiallahu anhu? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. So the same methodology, you've just admitted, the methodology with which we determine the Imam of Ali radiallahu anhu is using Sahih Hadith from the Sunni corpus. We've just established that. Great. Now use that methodology to prove the Imam of the 11 after him. Go ahead, please. Tafaddal.
Okay, the methodology was you look at Nas, you look at Afdaliyah, you look at knowledge, and then you apply these same criteria and you get the other 11 Imams. It doesn't need to be from the Sunni corpus, because it being from the Sunni corpus is not one of the conditions of proving Imam Ali alayhi salam's imamah. The conditions are nas, the conditions are afdaliyah, the conditions are superior knowledge, like all of this stuff that I said. You can't just throw out the other corpuses and say, only prove to me from the Sunni corpus. I already proved to you how the Sunni corpus itself, once you accept the Imamate of Imam Ali alayhi salam, the Sunni corpus, like as a whole, you can't keep appealing to it because the foundational presuppositions are falsified. So like your question itself is deceptive. You're saying that if we throw out all the other books, then can you still prove Imam Ali alayhi salam's imamah? Yes, but we don't have to throw out all the other books. We have the other books, and like from them we can establish nas for the later imams. And the methodology again is nas and these other criteria. It's not Sunni hadith. Sunni hadith is not the methodology.
Dude, I asked you point blank, yes or no, if we destroy all the hadith in the world except for the Sunni corpus, are we able to use, like, that's the methodology with which you're gonna, like, if you're talking to a Sunni, you're gonna prove the Imam of Ali. Like when we had our big debate the other time, you didn't bring all these other sources of proof to prove the Imam of Ali. You used, okay, if you're gonna appeal to Afdaliyah, fine, but that's still nas. From the Sunni corpus. Hadith Ghadir, Hadith Manzila. Correct me if I'm wrong, but these are all nas that you brought me from the Sunni corpus to prove the Imam of Ali. All used is Quran and Sunnah. Correct me if I'm wrong. You didn't bring anything from Kitab al-Kafi. You didn't bring me anything from al-Istibsar. You didn't bring me anything from Tahdhib al-Ahkam. You brought me only from the Sunni corpus. Yes? Yes? This is like the Sunni corpus is sufficient, and you yourself in this debate admitted that the Sunni corpus is sufficient. That is the methodology with which we're able to determine the Imam of Ali. But use that methodology to prove the 11 Imams after him, because that's what you said. The same methodology. Use that same methodology to prove the Imam of the 11 Imams after him, please.
Again, the methodology is not the Sunni corpus. The Sunni corpus being sufficient to prove the Imamate of Imam Ali alayhi salam does not mean that you have to prove the other Imams from the Sunni corpus. The question that you asked, right, was based on the idea that if you throw away all the other corpuses, can you prove Imam Ali alayhi salam from solely the Sunni corpus? And then you say that I only use this methodology of only Sunni hadith. Like, that's because of the way that you frame the question in a way that there are no other corpuses. Obviously, there are other corpuses, and we do rely on them. And like, there's countless different ways we can prove the Imamate of Imam Ali alayhi salam. And by application of all of those principles, we can get to the 12 Imams. It's not just nas from Sunni hadith. This is a very like narrow and like deceptive interpretation of what I'm saying.
Yeah, dude. I mean, we had a whole debate on this topic. You only, like I said, you did not bring from Tahdhib al-Ahkam. You didn't bring from the Zaydi corpus. You didn't bring from the freaking Ibadi corpus. You brought from the Sunni corpus. You yourself admitted that the Sunni corpus is sufficient. At the beginning of this debate, this discussion, just recently, I think 2 or 3 times ago, you mentioned the Sunni corpus. That is the methodology. Give me, like, to date, you have not used any other methodology other than Sahih Hadith and Mutawatir Hadith from the Sunni corpus with which to even try to attempt. And I would assert that they don't approve the Imam of Ali. As a Sunni, I say that, right? But that even I'm granting you that just for this, out of generosity. Use that methodology. Get to whatever you're able to prove for Ali using the Sunni corpus. Do that for the rest. If you're not able to use that methodology for proving the later, and you have to use a different methodology, then you can no longer claim the entailment. If the debate was, oh, are the 11 Imams after him divinely put infallible Imams? Okay, fine, we can have that discussion. I'm even like granting you like the ability to shift the goalpost to that. But then if we shift the goalpost to that, you're gonna have to prove like the reliability of the corpus you're appealing to. It's not changing the topic. I mean, you're the one who's changing the topic. But like, if I'm being generous and letting you change the topic, then you have to prove the authenticity of the hadith and the 12 corpus on which you rely in order to prove the Imam of the 11 Imams after him.
Nobody's changing the topic. I'm not changing the topic. You keep trying to change the topic, and I keep trying to steer you back. No. The reason why I did not bring Sunni hadith in our debate is because you would have just rejected them like from the get-go, right? I was debating a Sunni, so I brought you hadith that you yourself would accept as hujjah. It has nothing to do with what I myself consider hujjah or what an objective, unbiased, non-sectarian Muslim would consider hujjah, for example. So, like, again, my bringing Sunni hadith in that specific case doesn't mean that that's the only thing that's the only methodology by which Imam Ali alayhi salam's imamah can be established. When I say that his imamah can be established, I'm talking about holistically, right? From all of these different methodologies that you can use to establish his imamah. If you apply them, you get the other 12 imams. And the entailment is not that we use only Sunni hadith. The entailment is that we use these methodologies. And this is just going in circles because you keep trying to appeal to the Sunni corpus, when I already told you, if you accept the Imamate of Imam Ali alayhi salam, you are throwing out the Sunni corpus. And the reason for that is the Sunni hadith corpus is fundamentally based on the presupposition that Imam Ali alayhi salam was not the first divinely appointed infallible Imam. And the reason for that is Sunni hadith, narrators are people who opposed and fought against Imam Ali alayhi salam. Sunni hadith compilers actively censored hadith that were against certain ashab or that were contrary to their theological presuppositions. Sunni hadith transmitters or compilers would actually censor and tamper with hadith to remove theologically problematic material. So you keep saying show me from Sunni hadith, show me from Sunni hadith. It's not about show me from Sunni hadith. It's about show me from true hadith, right? There's true hadith and there's false hadith. And there are some true Sunni hadith. I never said otherwise. But this dichotomy that you can only bring me from Sunni hadith books, or else you have to or else you're trying to divert the discussion to a whole topic, a whole different topic, which is proving the reliability of the 12 corpus, is ridiculous.
Okay, so this methodology that you're referring to, that you're appealing to, if it's not the Sunni hadith corpus, which it is, but again, if it's not appealing to the Sunni hadith corpus with which to prove the Imam of Ali radiallahu anhu, is it contingent on the authenticity of the 12 hadith corpus? Yes or no?
Is the imamah, sorry, can you repeat that?
Yes, the question is, so the methodology with which we prove the Imam of Ali radiallahu anhu, which you're saying now is not the Sunni hadith corpus. Okay. طيب. Even though you admitted that before, we're going to just be generous again another time. Let's say the methodology is not the Sunni corpus. The methodology with which we prove the established the Imam of Ali radiallahu anhu is not the Sunni corpus. That methodology, let's call it Silverado's methodology. Let's just give it a name. Okay, it has the name of Silverado's methodology. Okay. Yes or no, is Silverado's methodology contingent on the reliability of the 12 hadith corpus? Yes or no?
Okay, so I never admitted that. You're being dishonest, again, as you've consistently been throughout this entire discussion. Somebody can just rewind this shortly before on the recording and see that you're blatantly lying about what I admitted, or changing the goalposts and all of this stuff. Anyways, regardless, what you're saying about the imamate of the 12 imams, does it rely on the 12 corpus? Obviously, because hadith of nas of the 12 imams, for later imams, you're only going to find nas for that in the 12 corpus, because you wouldn't expect Zaydis, Ismailis, Sunnis to narrate even hadith. You won't even find hadith from Imam Hassan al-Askari alayhi salam in those books, let alone nas for his son. Or you won't find hadith from Imam Ali al-Naqi alayhi salam, let alone hadith about him giving nas to his son, right? So again, it's an absurd question to ask, to say bring me hadith about these guys from people who didn't care about them.
Alright, I'm going to ask the question again. I'm kind of losing my patience here. I'm going to type it out just so you don't have to ask me to repeat it. Is Silverado's method and the reliability of the 12 corpus? This is a yes or no question. Alright, that's my question. Please answer.
I already answered this, that yes, so the methodology itself is these factors like nas, afdaliyah, knowledge, etc., all of that. But to prove those for specific people, yes, you have to rely on the 12 corpus.
Okay. طيب. So your entire argument now is contingent on the reliability of the 12-hour corpus. Now, if I demand for you to, in this discussion, prove the reliability of the 12-hour corpus, how am I going off topic when you just admitted that your entire argumentation, your line of argumentation, your Silverado's methodology is contingent on the reliability of the 12-hour corpus? That's like saying somebody is debating the Imam of Ali radiallahu anhu, and they say, oh yeah, my argument is contingent on Ghadir. It's like, okay, well, let's discuss Ghadir. No, Ghadir is off topic. No. We're only discussing the Imam of Ali. Well, dude, if your argument is contingent on Ghadir, then yes, we're going to have to discuss Ghadir. If your argument is contingent on the 12-hour corpus, we're going to have to discuss the 12-hour corpus. It's not going off topic. You just now admitted, yes, you said unequivocally, yes, my argumentation is contingent on the reliability of the 12-hour corpus.
Okay, again, the topic of discussion is the entailment, right, of the later Imams. Is the Imamate of the later Imams entailed by the Imamate of Imam Ali alayhi salam? So what I said and what I've been saying from the beginning is that the methodology that one uses to get the Imamate of Imam Ali alayhi salam is the same methodology that, if applied, would give you the Imamate of the later 11 Imams. That doesn't mean now prove the reliability of the 12-hour corpus. That's like... Again, you're dividing the corpuses when we're saying that there's true hadith and there's false hadith, right? If you look at true hadith, you get the imamate of the 12. If you so that includes also some Sunni hadith, right? So you keep trying to throw out one or the other, like you keep trying to either throw out the Sunni hadith corpus or throw out the Shia hadith corpus. That's not what we're doing. We're looking holistically based on consistent principles and methodology. We get the imamate of the 12.
Okay, can you do that, please, using the Sunni corpus and the 12-hour whatever methodology you want, man. Like whatever. Can you prove using that? Can you actually just real quickly show how the Sunni, because ultimately what it comes down to is the 12-hour corpus. You just admitted there's no nas for your imams outside of the 12-hour corpus, right? So your proof is ultimately contingent on the 12-hour corpus. Yes or no, are you able to prove, like if the 12-hour corpus went out the window, if the 12-hour corpus went out the window, are we able to prove that Imam Ali is divinely put infallible Imam? I think you already said the answer to this. Don't contradict yourself. Yes or no, are we able to prove the Imam of Ali radiallahu anhu if the 12-hour corpus went out the window tomorrow?
Again, that's a ridiculous question. You can't say if you throw out the 12-hour corpus, because again, the imamate of Imam Ali alayhi salam is based on true hadith. Those exist within the Sunni corpus and they exist within the Shia corpus. So yes, you could do it based on the Sunni corpus. That doesn't mean the methodology is use the Sunni corpus. The methodology is use hadith, which are authentic. And that can include Sunni hadith, that can include Shia hadith. So again, that you're not proving anything by your point.
Okay, can you use the combination of Sunni hadith and 12-hour hadith? Actually, no. Can you use the combination of Sunni hadith and reliable other non-Sunni hadith to prove the Imam of 12 infallible Imams? Go ahead, please.
Yes, we can.
تفضل.
I'm not going to go and prove the imamate of every single imam individually now. What? Like, again, the discussion is about the entailment, whether it entails them. It's not prove each imam individually.
Alright, I think that's it, man. I'm done.
Alright, if you want to see the proof of the imams, like, just go to thaqalain.net and there you go, nas of all the 12 imams. And, like, other proofs as well for their imama. But, like, entire time you've been diverting from the topic of discussion again, which is the entailment of the later imams from the imamate of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Yeah, like, that's all I have to say. Did you leave the discussion?
I'm gonna stop the recording now.